Yeah, suppose these are your test cases made in Selenium. Now till now we have seen uh, Selenium, we have studied WebDriver. Okay, now in WebDriver there is no feature to implement reporting, right? There is no feature for reading Excel files. Everything has to be done separately, right? So there are various requirements, right? First of all, we need to read the test data from an external source, Excel file, or some people use XMLs as well, or some people they connect to database and read the values from the database, right? Then we, for these test cases, we need to generate a report, right? We need to do what do you say, logging. Logging means you generate a log file in which all the information goes that when the test case it's running, when the test cases are running in a batch, they are running together. Fine. What happened at every second or every minute, you log everything. Okay. So to control all these things, right, to coordinate between everything. Now you want that there is a particular order in which the test cases should be executed. Fine. So to coordinate between all that stuff, we use frameworks. Right? We use a framework like a Testng framework. We use a JUnit framework, and sometimes like these days BDD has come, behavior driven development. People use Cucumber, a JBehave, all that stuff. Right? I'm putting Cucumber on my website in few days. Right? So this is how stuff it is arranged in the tool. Fine, you take it like this. This framework, it reads the data, it passes the data and all to every test case. It does the reporting, it does the logging and all, everything. This is how things are connected together. Now Selenium as a tool is only out here inside this blue box, right? So now we will study Testng, how to use it, and then we will integrate Selenium with it and we'll run. Now there is one more thing which comes into the picture, that is Ant, then Maven, these two things. Ant is something which helps you to run your project through command prompt. If you want to launch command prompt, you can launch it and you can run the programs through Ant. If you have a Unix based system or a Linux based system, in that you can use Ant. Okay, because in those systems you cannot have Eclipse or something. What is Maven? Maven is something which helps you to maintain the versions of jar files which you are using in your project. Okay. If you have to read about Maven in detail, right? I have already given you access. I have already given the access to everybody. Just a minute. Uh, right. You go to my site. Yeah, I am recording this. Yes. Right. You go to my site qtpselenium.com, and over here in under Selenium tutorial you can have a look at the Maven tutorial as well. It is quite helpful. Fine, this is the Maven tutorial, Apache Maven. You will come to know what it is. Right. So now how do we implement all these things? How do we implement all these things? The whatever I talked about right now. The first thing is you need to go and download Testng. To work with Testng, just you install it. Testng is installed as a plugin inside Eclipse. Okay. Now many times people get error while installing Testng. Make sure you have got Eclipse Indigo on your machine. Okay. Many times people they get this error because they don't have Eclipse Indigo. The Juno in Eclipse Juno sometimes gives errors, and Testng installation fails inside Eclipse Indigo. So Eclipse Juno, the Juno packages. Go for the Indigo packages. Right. In this it works successfully. Right. Now Yeah, for you it must be fine, Lakshmi, but for like many people, they come to me, they have errors in Juno. I'm not really sure why that comes, but it does come. Fine. For many people, maybe they have 64-bit OS or something like that. Okay. Now, if you go to Google and type Testng, you will get the website of Testng. Okay. The most important thing in this website is the documentation. They have a very clear documentation on Testng. I also understood Testng through this documentation. Okay. Now what you need to do is that once you go to this site, click on Eclipse. Fine. And in Eclipse, you can go to this link, install the plugin, and you copy this URL. Copy this URL and go to Eclipse. In your Eclipse, you need to go to Help, Install New Software. Okay. After going here, you can paste the URL and hit the enter button of your keyboard. Many times people, they don't hit the enter button, they just put the URL. You'll see Testng coming up over here. Make sure you are connected to the internet. Fine. Click on next, 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 and Testng will be installed and Eclipse will restart. Fine. Once Eclipse restarts, you can check out whether Testng is installed successfully or not by going here, Window, Show View, Other, expand Java, and you will see Testng coming up over here. So that means Testng is installed successfully. JUnit, it is, JUnit you don't need to install, it comes as a part of Eclipse. But Testng, he has to be installed as a plugin. Fine. Now, how do you work with Testng? To work with Testng, I will make a new project called as Testng tutorial. Fine. Now this is the source folder. In the source folder, I'll make a package. Package means a folder inside a folder. Inside the source folder, I'll create a package called test cases, and inside the package, I will create a class known as, say, sample test case. Now you can have an annotation called test public void, say, login test. Simple and straight. Now this is an annotation. This represents that this particular test case, this particular function, it is a test case. Inside this function, I will be writing Selenium code. Right. Now you move the arrow over this mouse and select add Testng library in your project. You will get this option. Fine. And you move your mouse again and import the test. You select import test. So you will get this. Right. Now once you have imported the Testng library, you will get the library over here. Inside it, testng.jar will be present. Okay. Now inside this test case, you have to write Selenium code. Suppose I write over here system.out.println login test. Now similarly, I can write over here another test function, or hold on, you can execute this single file. There is no main function in Testng. Always remember, there is no main function in Testng. The methods with the annotation @test will automatically be called. Okay, you right click on this Java file and you run it as a Testng test. It will get executed, and in console you will see that total test runs are 1, failures are 0, skips are 0. Right? And see, login test gets printed over here, and one more panel it comes up. Out here you will see one more panel results of running the class. If you look at this, it will show the results. Everything is in green, that means it's passing. And moreover, the best part is if you refresh your project, you will have a folder called test output in which you will have the HTML report. This is the index.html which you can open. This index.html will have the default testng reports. You'll see the login test function, it is passing. Right? Not a very impressive report, but by the end of this tutorial, we look at how to generate testng XSLT reports. Right? If you write over here testng XSLT, you will have this testng XSLT reports. It looks something like this. Okay, it is very helpful. Fine, it's a graphical report and it does help you a lot. Right, now in this, sorry, in this you can also have another test function called public void. Say there's a test called send mail. Right, or system.out.println sending mail. And suppose there is another test function called change password. Right, now each of these functions will represent individual test cases because you have got @test annotation on them. This is an annotation. Right, now when you right click on the project and you run this as a right click on the Java file and run the Java file as a testng test, you will see that in console it is written total test cases which are executed are 3. But the problem is that you see the order. The order is not same in which I have mentioned these, or in the order is not same as the order in which I have mentioned the test cases in this file. According to me, login and then send mail and then change password should have executed. But in practical, what has happened is that password change, login and send mail, this is how they have executed. If you look at these reports, you'll also see that password, login and send mail, it's like that. And if you look at the HTML reports, if you refresh this, you'll see 3 functions like this. Okay, first change password, then login and then send mail. But this is not what I wanted. Okay, now what I want is first the login test should execute and then send mail and change password. So practically what is happening out here, if you think practically, then send mail test case and change password both are dependent on the login test. Right, so you have to put a sign here or a command here that this you can write over here depends on methods equal to, and you can give the method name, that is login test. That means this send mail test is dependent on the login test. Only if login test passes, then only execute the send mail test. If login test fails, this annotation or this command will not allow the send mail test to execute. And similarly, you can give it over here as well for change password. Now I want to make change password dependent on login and send mail. That means this thing should get executed only after login test and send mail test, both of them have passed. Right, so I can put a comma over here and I can give the second test name as well, that this is dependent on these two methods. Now if you run this file, you will see the order. login test, send mail test, change password. Okay, and if you look at this, you'll get the change password. Oh, why is it this? Why is this happening? Hold on. The order is alphabetical actually. That's how Testng is made. That's how they have made it. Okay. You have to make test cases dependent on each other, then only you can decide, keep the order. Right. Hold on, let me open index.html again. Okay, this is presenting the test cases not in a very good way. First change password, then login test, and then send mail. I think in the latest version they have a bug out here. But forget about these reports. When we look at the better reports, those are the XSLT reports. You'll get the order in that. Okay. So now, it's better to use a prior version of Testng. In the new version, guys, I've practically noticed a lot of defects, right? So better use the prior version of Testng rather than this one. Okay. Because ultimately you need to generate reports. Okay, and I have seen people struggling with reporting part in the new version like anything. Okay, now how do we use the prior version of Testng? This is again a question, right? You will understand that when I tell you the concept of ANT, when I tell you how to execute this code through command prompt. Okay, now out here we have got these three test functions. Now how do you do validations? With Selenium, suppose I want to validate that I want to check the text on a page and I want to report the error that the text is not matching, or I want to check the presence of an element on the page, right? So for this, suppose I make a new class known as validations, right? Inside it, I will make a test annotation known as public void test app, just like that. Now to do validations, hold on. There is a class known as assert, right? Assert class is a part of Testng, and this class helps you to interact with the reports. If you want to fail a test case, you can easily fail it through this class. If you write assert dot, you will get a lot of commands. It will give you these commands. Basically, you can use a function assert equals, and you can give an actual value as well as an expected value inside it. Okay, actual value, say I am writing India. Expected value, where will be the expected value coming from? Maybe it will come from Selenium. You'll have to give some command driver dot find element dot get text or something, right? So in the expected one, suppose I write again India and I run the test. Right click on validation.java, run as testng test. Everything will pass. This will pass. Fine. But if I give a name which does not matches, the expected value is different than actual. And if I run this class, I get an error. Right, the expected value was this, but India was the actual one. And if you look at the reports as well, you'll see the error coming up. Right. Again, you see the bug. Okay, neither India is printed nor the expected value is printed. Nothing is coming in reports. Okay, so this is a problem with the latest version of Testng. But use one version or like go back one version, you will find everything okay, everything working fine. I'll tell you how to switch the version. Right now, out here, this is one of the functions to do validations. Right now, there is one more function called as assert dot assert true. Fine. You have to give some condition. Right. What is condition? Suppose I write over here 3 greater than 2. The condition should evaluate to true or false. Fine. And you can give a message over here, some error message. Now in case, okay, in case this condition it evaluates to true, then the test will pass. In case it evaluates to false, in that case test will fail. In this case 3 is greater than 2 is true, and if I run this, everything will pass. Fine. But if I write over here 3 greater than 12, and if I run this, now this will fail, and in the failure message you will see the error message, some error message over here, some error message. And if you look at the reports, you will see some error message expected but was something like that coming up. Right now, when do we use this practically? Suppose you have to find the presence of the element on a page. Okay, now the presence of the element, if the element is present on the page, you will write some condition which will evaluate to 2. Maybe you can call the function is element present, into which you will send, say, the x path of the element. Fine. Now if I'm writing is element present and I'm sending the x path of the element, this function, if it we will make this function later on, but I'm just giving you an example. If this function returns you true, that the element is present, then it's fine. But if this function returns you false, then you will simply throw an error in the reports. Okay, so this is how you can implement assertions. Now there is one more function known as assert false. This function is opposite of assert true. This will fail if the condition evaluates to false. Okay, and there is one more function known as assert fail. Now this will, no matter what, it will directly fail the test case. Okay, this is no reason. If you are very sure that something bad has happened and you directly want to fail the test case, you can use this. Right, and if you want to give the error message as well, you can write assert fail, take the second variant and give some error message that why the test case has to be failed deliberately. Right, and in case this is about failing the test case. In case you want to skip the test case, you don't want to continue with the test case, you don't want to execute it, then you can write over here throw new skip exception. Skip exception is an inbuilt exception in Testng again, and you can give the reason, right? Skipping the test case because of some reason, XYZ reason. Fine. If you run this now, you will see the test case in the reports. It will be skipped. It will be coming in yellow. Yellow means that the test has skipped. Okay, and if you look at the reports, if you refresh your HTML reports, you'll see that this is skipping. It's coming in yellow. Okay, so green is pass, red is fail, and yellow is skipped. Right, now let's go back to the previous example, sample test case, this one. Right, in this example, if you observe carefully, I have made send mail and change password dependent on login test. Only if the login test is passing, then only send mail and change password will execute. Suppose if I fail the login test, if I write over here assert equals A compared with B. So this login test will fail, right? If I run this, you will see in the results, login test is failing, but send mail and change password, they never got executed. So you can make the test cases dependent, but if this test case, if it fails, then the other dependent test cases will not execute. Or in the login test, I skip the test. I write over here throw new skip exception, right? I give some reason that why am I skipping the test. Now this time the login test will be skipped, but hold on. Yeah. But along with that, you will see the send mail and change password also skipped. You are getting an error on this line because it's trying to tell you then boss, if you are skipping the login test, right? If you're writing skip line over here, then please don't write this line because of this line, the control will simply stop on this line, right? If you're deliberately stopping the control, then why are you writing this line? So you just have to comment it, and if you run this now, you will see this thing skipping. Okay, so this is how you skip your test cases. You fail your test cases and you make your test cases dependent on each other. Fine. Now suppose I want to uh, hold on. There are various annotations in Testng actually. Suppose there are some preconditions or post conditions for a test case to be executed. That is, before starting the test case, you need to do something. After ending the test case, you need to do something. For that, we have got various annotations in Testng. For example, I'll make a new class and I will name this class Testng annotations. And in this, suppose I have a test case, public void t1, and I have another test case, public void t2. t1 and t2 are two test cases, right? Yes, annotations are same in JUnit as well. There is a slight difference, okay, there's a very slight difference, but more or less they are same. In t1 I write system.out.println t1 test. In t2 I write t2 test. Fine. Annotations refer to Java files that look, in these annotations I will be putting the Java code. I will be writing the Selenium code here. Selenium, maybe it will go to the website, it will check for a link, it will click on the link, it will verify the title of the page, verify the text on the page, presence of the elements. So all that stuff which we have done till now, all that code which we used to write in the main function would be actually written inside these test functions. Okay, that's why, I had built a diagram, right? I think I lost it. Yeah, I lost it. That's why Selenium is separate, Testng is separate. You have to couple both of them if you want to report, if you want reports, if you want your test cases to be implemented, if you want to run them in batch. So all that stuff will be done by Testng. Okay, Testng is not specifically made for Selenium. It's a unit testing framework, right? The developers, they use it for all the other stuff as well. It's not specifically for Selenium. It's just that we couple it with Selenium. Okay. right? Now, suppose before starting these test cases, I want to do something. So we have an other annotations as well. You can write over here at the rate before test, and you write public void. You know what? You just write before and hit control space bar. So you will get all the annotations which start with the word before. Or if you don't want to know how many total annotations are there in Testng, right? Suppose out of curiosity you want to know how many total annotations are there. You right click on this test cases package, go to new, go to other, and you will see Testng option. Expand this, select Testng class. Okay, click on next, and you see these are all the other Testng annotations other than the test annotation. Other than my test annotation, these are all the other annotations. Fine. You don't require all of them. Okay, you can have the knowledge, but you don't need all of them practically. Okay. Now there is a annotation known as before. So before test. Fine. Let's see that. If I write over here public void, you can give any name. Okay, I'll just write it as people generally call it setup. Okay. And there is another annotation known as after test, and generally people call it tear down. Fine. So this is the before test annotation, this is after test annotation. Setup and tear down are the functions, right? Now you can print over here system.out.println. I'll just write over here setup method. Fine. And out here I can write tear down method. Okay, so this is the setup method, this is the tear down method, and if you run them, Testng annotations, if you run it as a Testng test, you will see that both the tests have executed, and in the console you will have the setup method executed in the very beginning and tear down method executed in the very end, and in between the test annotation functions are called. Okay, there is a predefined order. You cannot change that order. The predefined order tells you the order in which the annotations will be called. The order is inbuilt inside Testng. Right now, like I make a function known as before method, suppose, and I write over here public void say before method bm, and then I write system.out.println before method. Okay, and then you have another at the rate after method. Okay, public void say am, and inside this I write after method. Fine. Before test, after test, before method, after method. Right. Now if I run this, you will, if you observe carefully, then before method and after method will be called before and after executing every test. Fine. And the before test and after test are just executed once, but these functions are executed before and after executing every test. So practically, suppose you have a test case. Fine. You have a test case. Suppose these are the two test cases. Where are we? I think I closed the file by mistake. Right. Yeah. Practically, suppose these are the two test cases, right? Okay. Suppose I have to use the same browser in both the test cases, right? Okay. I don't want new browsers for both the test cases. I want a single browser to implement both the test cases. So maybe in before method or before test annotation over here, I can open the browser. Now this will be called in the very beginning, right? You can open the browser and in both the test functions, you can utilize the browser. You can work on the browser and in your after test function, you can close it. This is one of the implementations, one of the usages, right? Now, if I want my test to be executed on different browsers, both the test cases should be implemented on different browsers. Then in the before method, I can open the browser and in the after method I can close the browser. So before method and after method are called individually, before and after executing every test, right? So this will work like this. This is one of the simplest example which I can give you right now. Okay. Now again there are other annotations as well, such as @ before suite. Okay. We will use this when we implement the test cases in a batch. Okay, what I mean to say is that suppose I have to run all these Java files together in a batch. I want to run them together in a batch. Fine. Till now we had been implementing them individually. I used to right click and I used to select run as testng test or something. Right. Now I have to execute them together. To execute them together, you need a file known as testng.xml. Hold on. Yeah, this is the file. I'll put the file here. This is testng.xml file. Okay. If you open this file, go to the testng.xml tab here. In this, you first give the name of your test suite. That is whatever is the test suite, and inside the test suite you can keep your test cases. Suppose the first test case is login or whatever you want to write. Okay, this is my first test. You can give any name. The class corresponding to the test, you have to give the name, that is test cases dot. Alright, so sorry, yeah, so I have this package test cases, right? Inside this you can give the name of a test, that is sample test case, right? And yeah, I'm recording it. Yeah, I'm recording it through Camtasia today. Yeah. So okay, you give the name of your test case. Again, you can write your second, whatever the name of your test, that is second test, that is validations. You can give any name and you can give the name of the file corresponding to the test. It's in test cases package. This is the package name and inside it validations. This name has to be correct as the file name. This name can be any name. You can put any name, validations, example, or whatever it is, right? This third test case can be test ng annotations, right? Inside it, test cases dot the name of the file, that is testng annotations, right? Now you can run the complete thing through XML file. You can right click on this XML file and select run as testng suite, and this thing will execute as a test suite, and in the results you'll get all the results, that is these are skipped, these two are successful, right? And if you look at the reports, you will get the reports of batch execution. Right? These two test cases are pass test case. These four test cases are skip test case. So you can run everything through testng.xml as well. Right? And that's what we do practically. We put all the test cases in the XML file and we run it through the XML file. Fine. So this is what testng is. Right. Now suppose there is a test case which has to be executed again and again with different set of data. Right. There can be a test case, right? You have test data associated with every test case and you want to execute a single test with multiple sets of data, all the permutations and combinations or whatever it is. So for that we have an annotation known as data provider in testng, which helps you to execute a single test case multiple times with different sets of data. Okay, so I will talk about it. I will talk about it tomorrow because I need a lot of time again. Fine. So we'll stop for today.